Hi guys, my name is Natalie, and today we're going to be talking about psychology of pet ownership and why radical behaviorism is the best approach and the most comprehensive in understanding pet consumerism, primarily in the United States. So why is this? It's a huge market, tons of people have pets. Why do they do it? Why do they get pets? And this is because we are conditioned to associate certain things with pet ownership. Certain rewards and ideals are associated with having a pet, which is also known as radical behaviorism. So as we've talked about in class, radical behaviorism has to do with operant conditioning. So certain behaviors, such as getting a pet, are encouraged by presenting a reward or withdrawing an undesired stimulus. Other behaviors, not getting a pet, are discouraged by withdrawing a reward or presenting a punishment. So this is directly from class, and I'm sure you probably remember this chart that we went over. So operant conditioning tries to explain the relationship between presenting a stimulus or the relationship between a stimulus and behavior. So whether that's desired stimulus or undesired and encouraging or discouraging behavior. It makes more sense in our discussion today to just focus on encouraging behavior as pet ownership. There's not a lot of advertisements and understanding of people discouraging pets. I mean, maybe it's talked about with family or like it's too much responsibility, things like that, but most of the advertisements and what we're discussing today is how we're encouraging pet ownership and encouraging the behavior to adopt pets. So this first one that we're going to dive into is positive reinforcement. So you present a stimulus to encourage the behavior. What that looks like is you get a pet and there's a reward. So this is the most easily understood when talking about pet ownership, and that pet equals a significant other. A pet equals a relationship, somebody who likes you, long-term happiness. And whether there's different studies that we're going to dive into, but some of the general themes that like you're more attractive with a pet, oftentimes you're more approachable, you're seen as more responsible, especially that's true for men. And we've seen a lot of times even just socially, and we've all heard the saying that like dogs are a chick magnet. And so pet ownership is behavior. And the way that's encouraged is because when you get a pet, you're rewarded with a relationship. And this isn't just theory. Dr. Helen Fisher, she works at the Kinsey Institute in Indiana. She's also a researcher with Match.com and does a lot of work with them. And she said that nearly 1/3 of respondents said they had been more attracted to someone because they had a pet. And more than half said they would find someone more attractive if they knew that she or he had adopted a pet. So this could go back towards more traditional behaviorism, and that we associate pet ownership with positive attributes, and that's been conditioned. But for our discussion today, radical behaviorism makes more sense, and we'll go into that. But also the third point is really interesting in that most respondents said that their date's choice in pets said a lot about their personality. So that discussion point and note from the study can also be described as badging, which is part of operant behaviorism, and that it's positive reinforcement to have a pet, but then there's certain identities and certain rewards even more so for having that positive reinforcement. So there's this understanding that certain people are dog people, and that's a positive thing, and that's a badge that people wear. And then you take that a step further, and there's even certain breeds of dogs that have a higher badge and status associated with them. And I think, for example, Vizsla owners, there's a certain identity that is commonly associated with that, and that is a badge that a lot of people wear. Also, too, having a well-trained pet or spending lots of money on your pets is another badge that people have. So there are reward programs, incentives, and badging levels for people who do have pets. And there's different rankings and identities associated with pet ownership. And so what I said before, pet ownership equals a significant other, this kind of breaks it down on a more step-by-step level. So this idea of positive reinforcement, it's applicable to both men and women. They have a different immediate reward and reaction, but the same long-term goal orientation. So pet ownership leads to more attractiveness. And this is what we're going to lead into here, is talking about how it's different for men and women. So pet ownership makes you more attractive. For men, it means that you're more approachable and you're seen as more responsible. And for women, you're presented as more maternal and desirable. And both of those qualities, respectively, for men and women, usually do lead to greater chances of finding a significant other and having a meaningful relationship, which then also creates happily ever after. And so pet ownership ultimately leads to marriage, kids, and having a white picket fence house and the American dream. And a really good example of this, and something that we all grew up with, or most of us, and a very popular theme in media, socially, and something that we see all the time and encounter is this narrative. And I think this movie trailer that from a movie we've all seen explains that really well.
There's nothing like the experience of raising your first dog. Of course, that kid's not even me. That's me. And that crazy hound I'm chasing is Marley, the world's worst dog.
Sorry!
But our story begins before Marley was born.
Dream house. Paint a Barney on the wall and you have a great little playroom. You guys are gonna have kids, right? Yes.
You want my advice? Get a puppy or something.
I've never had a dog.
There's nothing to it. You walk them, you feed them, you let them out every now and again.
This Christmas, get ready for a surprise.
1, 2, 3.
They're adorable. Hi, puppy.
Marley, this is our house. And now it's yours. Marley, you can't go through a screen door. Marley! He's just like a little kid, except no fur here.
That's not a dog. That is evil with a dog face.
You get an answering machine, and then went back and had the phone for dessert.
A dog can only have one master. Which one of you has the most authority in your relationship?
Well, maybe I'll stand over there for the beginning.
I thought so.
On December 25th, give your family the gift.
It's just beautiful.
Well, put it on. Where'd you
Where'd
do
it go?
with it?
Oh, I put it right
Well,
here.
It didn't just disappear.
Of Marley.
Come here.
Marley, spit it out.
Go to the kitchen. Come here. That's a good boy.
Marley?
Oh, honey, I don't see it.
Dr. J's gonna send over a laxative.
I think we need to find a new house.
Whose dog is that?
He may be the world's worst dog,
None of this was part of the plan.
No, it wasn't, but it's so much better.
but he brings out the best in their family.
A dog doesn't care if you're rich or poor. Give him your heart, and he'll give you his.
He's making a break! Pull over!
There's a ton of traffic.
Marley and Me.
So while that story is a little bit backwards in that they start dating and then get the dog, part of the storyline is that they can't have kids right away, so they adopt the dog. But then you see at the end, they have the kids and the family in the house and they are living this happy life, and it all kind of started with having the dog and the pet ownership. So applying this to a modern lens, I thought it'd be fun to share online dating profiles of single eligible men in the LA area. So with operant conditioning, pets are seen as an attractive quality. And that's something that once you get a pet, the behavior and then the reward is a significant other. So these are people who have done the first step, they've gotten a pet, and they're actively presenting that, projecting that into dating profiles and online and making that part of themselves and their desirability when presenting themselves to other people. Some people go as far to think that their dog is such an attractive quality that they don't even put a picture of themselves. They just put a picture of their cute little dog. This guy has 3. That's like 3 times the amount of cuteness. Some people go as far to say that, like, not only do they have multiple pictures of their dog, but even their bio has to revolve around pet ownership. And while this could be part of their identity, I think this theme largely points out how having a pet ownership increases one's attractiveness and desirability with the end goal and reward of having a relationship. And don't worry, it's not just limited to dogs. We also have cats, goats, and pet alpacas. So depending on what you're interested in, there's a lot of men online who are actively presenting their pet ownership as a sign of desirability for themselves in the hopes of having the reward of other kinds of relationships. We see this differently presented for women. The way most of us see and interact with media and advertisements now, especially for our generation, is through social media. The La Belle Foundation is a foster care agency for dogs, and they've taken 2 celebrities to get them to play with pets, post pictures. So it's a modern form of advertisement. But what we're highlighting here is the way women present themselves when they have pets and in their pet ownership identity, and what that means for operant conditioning. So Kaya Gerber, she's a really famous model. She's Cindy Crawford's daughter. And so she has this pet, and her caption ends with "Mama loves you." Here we have Kendall Jenner, who's also another pop culture icon, model. millions of followers. This picture has almost 6 million likes, and it talks about how she's raising a model. And raising a model, obviously that is reference to like raising a child, but it's her dog. Here we have Bella Hadid, another influential figure. And here she's talking about she's an aunt and has that identity, and then that they're brothers. So a lot of reiterating ideas of family values. And here's Bella again talking about her horse and her family's farm, and that her horse is her son. So the way women talk about pet ownership, especially in these large platforms of single like pop culture icon women, is that pet ownership gives them more maternal identities and therefore makes them more attractive. So you get a pet, you're more desirable because you're seen as more maternal and have these kinds of instincts and natures which are attractive and desirable when dating. So the reward is you get a pet, or the behavior is you get a pet, and the reward is you're more attractive, which ultimately leads to this family little cute picture. This is Dua Lipa. She's a pop star, she's a singer, pop artist. Once again, it's this foundation, but their little dog, and then this is her boyfriend, who's related to the Hadids. But it's very much a reward and response is that you get the pet, and then you have this beautiful family narrative. Here it's referring to him also as a goat dad, another family ideal. So this is very much presenting the pet as the behavior, and then the reward is your family picture. A great example of this is Emily Ratajkowski. So not only does a dog increase as one owns attractiveness and desirability, but then it leads to this lifestyle that you have the husband and the dog, and this is what you get to do all the time, is just lounge around your beautiful house in LA. And this is your glamorous lifestyle that comes and starts with you getting a dog, but then you get everything, you get the whole package later. So it's a behavior that's encouraged by reward, which is this glamorous lifestyle with paparazzi and dogs and fashion and style. So positive and negative enforcements are working simultaneously. So going back to this chart, while pet ownership is the behavior and the reward is a significant other, there's also negative reinforcement, and that pet ownership means no more loneliness. So this is viewed here. So how a lot of people, you've probably seen this sticker on cars, is how like my rescue dog rescued me. So you're rescued from loneliness, distress, sometimes a lot of times emotional turmoil. Having a dog removes those undesirable stimulus. Therapy dogs take away that anxiety and pain for a variety of people and variety of treatments. And so that's a really good example of a negative reinforcement with operant conditioning and pet ownership. And also too, if you're feeling, a lot of times dogs have different physical abilities that match their owners. And sometimes if that's because you look different or feel isolated, it removes that negative stimulus of feeling isolated and independent from everybody, and that it gives you companionship. So it's removing a negative stimulus and giving you a positive one to encourage behavior. And this is a shameless plug. This is our cute family dog, Louie. Louie's a really common dog name, I feel like. But Louie is my sister's dog, so technically I'm a dog aunt, but I hang out with him a lot. And my sister originally got Louie because she was having a really hard time after college and was just having a hard time socially with people, and so she got a dog to remove those feelings of loneliness and to have a sense of purpose, and help you get out of bed in the morning, so it can help with depression. And it also too, he's an emotional support dog, but a lot of people got pets over quarantine, and it removes the negative stimulus of boredom. You have something to do, you have to get up, you have to walk the dog, you have to care for the dog. So our example of Louie and how a lot of people recently adopt dogs with quarantine is an example of negative reinforcement. And lastly, these are some ads I drafted up with going off of operant conditioning in terms of positive reinforcement. This is Louie being a model, and it says, get him to help you find Mr. Right. So get him and he'll help you find your significant other, and everybody loves twins. So it's a play that like twins are more attractive, and you and your dog are twins, and therefore you're more attractive with your dog, and therefore you're more likely to get the reward of dating somebody and having a significant other. And also be a dog mom first, and then you can be a mom later. So I do think a lot of these ideas do play off of social ideas and constructs of like women's maternal instincts and having this defined idea of like what gender roles are in society, which I don't always agree with, but it's helpful in understanding pet ownership in terms of operant conditioning. So in conclusion, the most applicable analysis for pet consumerism is radical behaviorism. We are conditioned to associate pet ownership with positive rewards, i.e. relationship status because of increased desirability, and it also removes undesirable stimulus such as loneliness and isolation. So pet ownership is the result of operant conditioning, and while other lenses might help explain certain aspects of pet consumerism, radical behaviorism is the most comprehensive. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Link and subscribe below to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna be a vlogger. Bye.